Hello and welcome back to another episode of Review Your Death Clips. My name is Syken. I have played quite a bit of World of Warcraft Hardcore. I have leveled every class to level 60, did all of the content including killing KT on both sides. So let's jump right into it and see what kind of death clips we have today. Alright, since this is episode number 1, I'll just lay down a couple of ground rules. I'll be looking at all of the clips for the first time, and we're going to look at its entirety. I'm going to cover 3 exemplary death in this one to see what the reaction is, and I'm going to react for them in detail. So let's look at this one.
Oh, wait. Shit.
It's a lot of mobs.
I'm dead.
That's true, my man. That's true. Alright, so let's look into that death a little bit more in detail. So we are in the Stonetalon Mountains. He's playing a druid. He is doing the Kaya escort quest. Let's take a look at that real quick. So the quest in play is escorting Kaya, kind of level 16 quest. It's one of the weird quests where you enter Stonetalon Mountains typically around high teens, low 20s, and then this quest is kind of almost out-leveled at this point. You can see these enemies level 16 are conning green to him, so I would be assuming he's 19, 20. Maybe 19 because he does not have cat form yet, so he's running around in bear. Couple of things to know for the druid if you're starting to level. First 10 levels are pretty hard, the next 10 levels are getting mildly better, but you always got to be a bit careful. He has a speed pod, he's also using that. He clearly has leveled his first aid as well. But let's react to what is going wrong. So at this point, when 3, so that's the final stage of the quest, you're essentially running down a hill, and at that final stage, 3 enemies are going to spawn, and you need to fight all 3 of them. Mistake number 1, in such a situation, you never go in first, because the NPC has a full health bar as well, and Kaya can tank one of the 3 by herself. Mistake number 2, prior to him actually running down, there are a couple of wandering mobs, in this case this mercenary, I think level 15 or 16, but they do have social aggro, so the moment that 3 are fighting, even though he individually would not leash, the leash gets extended, and he says, okay, we're going to join. And at this level difference, he still is a threat. So the guy basically from the setup does everything wrong, and puts himself in a tough spot. He then uses demo shouts, good for stability, but the problem is already there. He has 3 mobs on himself, only self-buffed, thorns are running out, and there you go, there's the leash. So that's the point in time when this happens, where you technically should bail out. Fighting against 4 mobs at the same level is just not going to work out. His rage is pretty low. He's not taking a lot of damage, or not enough damage to fill up the rage bar, because he needed to walk down all of this hill. So basically the death, it's as easy as the death could have been prevented by knowing that there are going to be 3 enemies here, and clearing the area beforehand, and then essentially fighting the 3 enemies with regrowth and rejuvenation ticking. That's as easy as the explanation is. I put death under one of the 3 categories, either knowledge gap, execution gap, so knowledge gap meaning you don't know what is happening, execution gap as in you don't play your class to its fullest extent, or the third one is a catch-all, just unmitigated, unforeseen circumstances, just bad luck happening, and then you weren't fast enough in reacting to get out of here. And this here is a knowledge gap plus execution gap, falls into both categories. He goes in and is now fighting 3, and you can see this is 4. This is where his health is going down. He correctly focuses the caster at the beginning, but then starts to switch the whole get out of form and then start to war stomp. War stomp is 1.5 seconds. This is doing nothing. He, if anything, he should have used travel form here. which he would have gotten by now if he had done his quest, and just ran away. That's really it. At this point, he's doing a couple of other things wrong, basically running away and exposing his back, so he's lucky that he hasn't been dazed there. But yeah, the server lag already killed him. So that's it. Death number 1. Let's move on to death number 2. For death number 2, we're taking a little bit of a higher level one. Let's see what is happening here. They're fighting Ragnaros. We have a warrior in the warrior camp. And he seems to be very, very focused on DPS already. I can see that damage done and damage done overall seem to be extremely important to him. Immediately, my reaction is not having a proper threat meter, but rather 2 damage meters is a pretty stupid idea. Let's look into the clip. So getting into execute range. Okay. Oh boy. Alright, well, this one here is rough, but it is not uncommon. Let's talk a little bit about what happened. So, a couple of things that need to be gone through. Number 1, this is an execution gap problem mainly. He did not understand how to play warrior in this case, or didn't intend to learn what to do. So we are fighting Ragnaros, last boss of Molten Core. Has basically a simple mechanic for melees. He has the Wrath of Ragnaros, which he will do every now and then. Typically the raid leader calls it out and will tell you when to move in and move out, which is when you're seeing right here that he moves out. You can even see the Deadly Boss mod Wrath of Ragnaros. So it's random, it's a bit hidden behind all of that clutter, but there is a bar that fills up, and once you're at this point there is a time period around 6 to 8 seconds. We're currently in that time period where Ragnaros randomly at that point does Wrath of Ragnaros. Wrath of Ragnaros is accompanied by far you might be purged line, and he then just smites a single individual that is in melee range. Therefore, all of the melees are running out, waiting off the 8 seconds, and then you go in. Well, for someone who is very DPS focused, that's of course 8 seconds that you cannot parse on the boss. And that in itself is a problem. So what this individual does is, you can see he kind of dips in and out, and we're still having 4.5 seconds left. He then kind of reads the Wrath of Ragnaros has happened and immediately moves in. Mind you, we're now in the execution phase. He has no threat meter anywhere, at least not visible for me. Typically people have weak auras telling them that, or use the tiny threat meter, but he doesn't have any of that. So all I can see is the damage done in this on this boss. He is currently second highest damage done on Ragnaros, which tells me he is now about to overtake the tank. Which, by the way, at this point, you can see Ragnaros has now switched to Rage Brain. He doesn't even notice that the guy is looking in his direction. You see Wind Fury Totem proc here as well, which on Horde side, rage management is much more difficult. So at this point, the correct play is to use a LIP, Limited Invulnerability Potion, which makes you immune to the physical part of Ragnaros attack. Ragnaros has a lot of fire damage, so it wouldn't make you immune to that. However, Lip removes you from the threat table for the full duration of Limited Invulnerability Potion. And that's all you need whilst you're in the execute phase. He does have Hellstone up. He does, as far as I'm concerned, has his potion cooldown up. He, at this point here, has Recklessness and is currently Death Wishing. Death Wish is not that bad of an idea with Ragnaros because it only increases physical damage. Mostly deals fire damage, but as a DPS warrior you should never tank Rag for an extended period of time. Oh wait, I stand corrected. Down here he has potion cooldown, that's the 2 minute. Okay, well, given that he has potion cooldown, at this point the correct play is to either Petri or run out of melee range, so that Ragnaros will choose a different target. Now it's pretty simple. You are not staying in. Let's see what Ragebrain does. Gets hit. You can see elemental fire. So he gets hit for a good 4,500 unmitigated or mitigated. He continues to spam execute. I can see the button go up and up and up. He still has 40 rage. So in his mind, 16% doesn't matter. Tank taunts it around. You're now seeing it is on Lathas. Lathas for some reason has fiery weapon, or is that a debuff? Never mind. Okay, so you're seeing more executes come in, and Ragebrain has now officially done his duty and reached the target of highest DPS in the fight, and is now very much again the main target. Mind you, Hellstone still unused. If he would have had a target dummy, that would have given him leeway as well. Ragnaros can be taunted, so the right play here is going out. The second right play, so to speak, is use your Hellstone, because you're at 1.7k shield, around 1.1k. That gives you effective 2.8k. He hits for 4.5, so you already know that you're dead if he hits you. With a Hellstone, you could get to 3.54k. Still not enough to survive the situation. But you could target dummy, and that would mitigate one more hit. And there you go. 1,730 overkill. That's it. That's pretty much it. Typical death, I've seen it countless times. I don't know how often, so I'm not surprised about the death at all. And really, the problem here is a disrespect of the content and people wanting to parse. It's really that simple. Alright, death number 3. Let's give it a go and see what we're dealing with. So, Herod in Scarlet Monastery arms.
Oh my
Okay,
God,
I know
what the
what's
fuck
happening.
happened?
Totem problem.
Yo, this is bad. I need help.
And everybody is panicking. Not good comms. And run is being called, which by the way will kill most of them. The
I'm
rogues
serious, we
will
need to
survive, the others
Run
might not.
how?
Tank definitely is not going to
I'm
survive.
fucking boned here. Oh my god.
Okay, so let's talk about the mechanic. Knowledge gap is what I would call that, but also pretty sizable execution gap. They are running arms. Arms is the second highest part of Scarlet Monastery. Herod is the end boss here. And immediately we're seeing Herod cons orange to him, which means he is level 36 to 37. Either way, still okay for the entirety of the dungeon, but it means it's a hard fight. So why do I say knowledge gap? Some encounters within World of Warcraft do have a prevention for kiting. Herod is one of them. You're fighting Herod in this little end room back here. Once the door opens and you go in, you can then engage him. He has a pretty short aggro radius, so kind of around here-ish. But if you jump down, of course, he's going to aggro. Now the problem is the doors are going to close. And in order to prevent him from being kited, 4 Myrmidians, the strongest enemies in arms, will spawn right in front of the door. Now they are running a shaman, Clemix here. Clemix likely has not heard about that. You can see Clemix has 0 totems inside, which for me immediately makes it suspicious. That means either they have waited a long time and all of the totems have disappeared, or the more likely case, Clemens just moved in and was like, doesn't matter, let's go. And totems are still standing outside. Totems will pull aggro and the Myrmidons will come in. So that's exactly what happens. Charge in. And you can see at the point he is planting 3 totems here. Wind Fury, which by the way barely reaches him. I assume Mana Spring, which does not reach him, so it's a waste as well. And Stone Skin, which is actually not a bad totem, is being placed down there. Now, the druid seems to be a Moonkin. Both of the rogues haven't even engaged, so we're about 5-6 seconds into the fight when this here happens. And that's the point where you gotta know the mechanic and keep a calm head. The fact that he's still smiling, it tells me that he has not realized the extent of the screw up, because Herod itself at this level is already a difficult encounter if you don't, specifically with 3 melees. But with this here on top, it's going to be very, very difficult. So let's talk about Myrmidons and why they are quite a pain to deal with. So this group does not have anything to really deal crowd control wise with the Myrmidons. The only crowd controls that they have is Hammer of Justice from the it's a shaman, what am I even saying? They do have maybe a slow totem. Roots do not function indoors. They do have 2 blinds, and that's pretty much about it. And the stun lock. The problem with the Myrmidons is once they hit 30%, they are dual wielding 2 swords and they enrage. So once they hit 30%, they deal a lot more damage. So in order for this group to survive, what would need to happen is one person would needs to take charge and basically command the following. He has not skilled Piercing Howl, so he can't slow them either. What needs to happen is you basically need to kite all of the Myrmidons and pick out one of them at a time. The way that you could do this is you have plenty of mana. You do have an Innovate from the Druid that can go to the Shaman, and the Shaman can heal with Chain Heal enough to keep the group alive for a while. So they run down. 2 of the rogues would need to go up, time their blinds, and pick 2 different targets. And then essentially one of the rogue, they are level 35, so assuming that the rogues are going with a combat build, they would have Blade Flurry. So after that happens, one of the rogues would need to pop Evasion and Blade Flurry. They might need to sync up their Blade Flurry so that both of the rogues are actually using cooldowns and are focusing on one of the Myrmidons. They don't have Adrenaline Rush, which would be level 40. So that means one of the Myrmidons would need to go down. Maybe a kidney shot and then kidney shot rotation, so that even after the evasion it could work out well. So 10 seconds blind means at that point in the fight the blind will go off and you still have 3 of them, assuming that the rogues have done a decent job. Now, the tank can tank Herod down here, but mainly ignore him because Herod at some point does the Blades of Light and then he just turns and he gets immune. So you can never focus Herod first, you need to deal with the ads. So what you could do in order to really smartly play this is put a totem down here for the Shaman, and then you're just kiting Herod, and whenever he's doing his little Blades of Light, you're again picking off one of these Myrmidons. They are disarmable, so you could theoretically tank one Myrmidon at the time and call focus on that and let the others be tanked. Now, Druids, specifically Boomkins, are not known to dish out a whole lot of damage. So I'm wondering if he just empties his mana bar far enough, then innovates, goes into bear form, and actually just kites one of them around. Once the Myrmidons are down to like 1 or 2, you can pretty safely handled it, but you have already heard out of the many ifs and whens. There's a lot of coordination for this group, so I'm not surprised that they mess it
Oh my God, what
it
the
up
fuck
completely.
happened?
You can see new Wind Fury Totem is coming in, not very. It's kind of a panic reaction. I think it's not wrongly placed here. The Earthbind is definitely the right call, and they currently have aggro on the healer, which needs to stop because the problem is the healer actually needs to fully commit and heal.
Yo, this is bad. I need help.
Druid does the wrong thing. Yeah, and the rest plays out. So that's basically it. This is potentially the most difficult to counter. Can't even really fault them for the execution gap because it seems that they are newer players, and this one here, if you play it out with a group of experienced players, it would be difficult to pull it off with the set of characters that they have chosen in that specific location. Mainly a knowledge gap. Shaman is to blame for that. It's unfortunate that someone died. Likely the Shaman died as well. The rogues might have survived with Vanish. That's it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you all in the next episode. Bye bye.